In lesson 12, we're going to start out with double vertical strokes at the interval of a second. Now that we are incorporating the upper manual, there's a couple things that you need to consider. We're going to start on a D and an E, and you want to make sure you're watching your beating spot. Remember, from the beginning half of the book, when we were just working on the lower manual, your beating spot for a second is slightly angled. You'll see my elbow is just outside where the D and the E actually are. As I incorporate the upper manual, I will just slightly rock in to play and then angle my elbow out when I split the manuals. But there's something else that happens when you split the manuals. Your interval will slightly expand. When the second starts on the lower manual and goes to the upper manual, there's no interval expansion. But when you have to split the manuals, it just slightly increases. As with a lot of my exercises, I do 4 repetitions, then 2 repetitions, then 1 repetition. Make sure you do the 4s until you're comfortable. The 2s are going to be a little bit more difficult, and sometimes the 1s can be considerably difficult. So make sure you practice and isolate each one of those repetitions before you try and put them all together. It should be a fairly natural process moving around the keyboard. Make sure you're not jerking or doing really quick motions with your feet or with your hands. It should feel pretty natural once you get the hang of it. For exercise 12.2, we're going to do a very similar concept, but this time we're going to use major thirds. Your left hand will angle out and in. You want to make sure the beating spot is at the edge of the bar and that you're moving your feet for the big shifts. In 12.3, we're going to add those same concepts to the interval of a fifth. This time, you're going to have to move between an outward angle and an inward angle very quickly. There's nothing in between. So I would take this one definitely a little slower at first. This is the only exercise of these 3 where I don't actually have you going to the single repetitions. You can practice it if you'd like. It's significantly harder, and we just don't see that much of it in the literature. You'll notice as you play through these exercises that some of the shifts and the body motions are a little bit harder than others. You might want to isolate those sections just to make sure you understand how your weight shifts and how your arms angle. Start slow in the progress chart to make sure you understand it before moving on.